we came up with was this legislation, which in my opinion, for many reasons, is as close as perfect as we're going to be able to get. There's three components. The first off affects all small businesses, those with 25 employees or less, as well as all public and non-public schools in the entire 12-county MTA region that's currently paying the payroll tax. For that first group, everyone's going to get a full, outright, immediate repeal as of January 1st, 2012.
Yeah.
The second component of this legislation affects the 7 counties outside of New York City. It's going to be a 2.5-year phase out. On January 1st, 2012, what currently is 34 cents in every $100 will be reduced to 0.23. On January 1st, 2013, it will be reduced to 0.12. And at the end of 2013, it will be completely phased out. The third component affects the 5 counties within New York City. It will remain at the 0.34 level for 2012. On January 1st, 2013, it will be reduced to 0.28. And on January 1st, 2014, it will be reduced to 0.21. And that's the summary of the legislation. Now, to give you some numbers as far as the cost impact, this is the savings that will be realized in the implementation. It will be $234.4 million for 2012, $479.1 million in 2013, and $767.4 million in 2014. The impact for Westchester County is $29.1 million in 2012, $60 million in 2013, $90.9 million in 2014. For the Putnam County executive I know is here. He's interested in knowing his numbers. I mean, there's a savings in Putnam as well. The fact is that all 7 counties outside New York City will be able to see savings. The numbers that I just gave you, by the way, for Westchester, that's for the phase out. That doesn't even include all the money that the small businesses and the schools and non-public schools, public and non-public schools will see as a result of the legislation. Now, the MTA PR machines are out there working hard. They're trying to say the only way that they'll be able to deal with this legislation is by drastically increasing fares, dramatically cutting services. That is just not true for a few reasons. One is the MTA has the ability to do more with less. Right now, the state and local government is tightening its belt. Businesses, small businesses, families right here in Westchester County, doing the same thing to tighten their belts. The MTA needs to do the same. We have outlined approximately a dozen potential cost savings opportunities for the MTA, and this list is not fully exhaustive. And by the way, I want to thank Senator Bull for his help in developing this list. Eliminating overtime abuse. Currently, over $400 million is spent on overtime annually. Second, we recommend that the MTA possibly should share enforcement camera fines in MTA bus lanes. Third is we need to look at the option of competitive bidding privatization of the New York City bus system. This isn't an idea that we're necessarily, we want more facts, but there's a potential here to save money. Public-private partnerships. Senator Chuck Fischillo, who's chairman of the Transportation Committee, has been leading a fight in Albany for more P3s for the MTA, possibly help them save some costs. Reduce outside litigation costs by more use of either in-house counsel or the Attorney General's office. Sell some of the MTA's capital assets, currently valued at over $50 billion. The MTA just put on the market their headquarters and 2 other properties to try to see $150 million of cost savings. They're looking at 26 other properties. There was a comptroller's audit that helped lead the fight here, and we need to follow suit. The MTA needs to follow suit and look at real estate consolidations. Next is the cash and investment float. Right now, the MTA has about $1.2 billion in unrestricted investments. The MTA explains that this money is used for upcoming expenses, so they have about $250 million per week. My thought is, why do they need $1.2 billion? They can perfectly cover their expenses if they took money and reduced that cash and investment float. That doesn't even include the restricted investments that are over $1 billion, or the cash float, which is a couple $100 million. And there's additional suggestions as well. This doesn't include what a top-down forensic audit would be able to achieve. Senator Ball led the fight. He was the leader in the fight to get included in the March 15th, 2011 Senate One-House Budget Resolution, a call for a full top-down forensic audit within 60 days of the budget's adoption. Unfortunately, there were those on the Assembly and the Governor's office that weren't willing to agree. And a final point, as far as the revenue side, is that right now real estate transfers are starting to increase. Home prices aren't necessarily going up, unfortunately. We're looking forward to when it does. But real estate transfers are increasing. And as they increase for the first time now, the MTA is seeing their tax collections exceed their estimates. Additionally, there are more people working. There are private sector jobs that are far outpacing any type of job loss elsewhere. And as that continues to exceed expectations, the payroll tax collections increase, and it's an additional source of revenue for the MTA. And this is the last point on revenue. We are willing to, if the need comes at some point in the future, revisit revenue options to allow the MTA to balance their books. But we want to see the MTA do more protecting our tax dollars. So we're not looking to fund the problem. We're not looking to replace $1.4 billion, and we're not taking $1.4 billion out of the MTA. Their cost impact for 2012 is just $234 million. Simply taking $234 million out of their restricted investments, 2012 is done and taken care of. There's no need to increase fares or cut services. So we've had a lot of support this week. On Monday, the National Federation of Independent Businesses issued an endorsement. The Business Council in New York issued an endorsement. Yesterday, the New York State Conservative Party put out a press release endorsing our efforts. And actually, just minutes ago, GrowPAC, an organization that's led by David Malpass, a statewide group, also issued an endorsement for our legislation. So I thank Senator Ball for all of his efforts to make sure that this gets done. I want to thank Senator Martins as well, who's played a big role as well. He's from Nassau County. And I turn the floor back over to Senator Ball to say thank you to him.